I remember being on the floor crying, sobbing, tears and other things that are not tears running down my face, feeling like the biggest failure on the planet. See, I had been trying for a while now to build my business and to get things going because I dreamt of creating a better future for myself, for my kids, for my husband, for my entire family, really. And I knew that I had something special, something different, something that was given to me as a calling and as a God given gift that I needed to share with the world. And I kept trying thing after thing after thing after thing to try and make it happen. And then I heard this one person that I considered a mentor and a coach say the words that completely destroyed me. And those words were, if you say you're doing this for your family, but you haven't seen progress, I'm sorry, but you don't really love your family as much as you say you do. Now imagine sitting there hearing a person that you admire, a mentor, tell you that the reason you're not getting things done is because you don't love your family enough. Now, at that point, I was so fragile in my self worth, in just my ability to lead myself past obstacles, in the way I envisioned and saw how I could show up, that I actually started to doubt and question whether he was right and I really didn't love my family enough. Can you imagine? I mean, I would literally put my life on the line for my family. And yet, this mentor, this quote unquote expert, had me questioning whether I loved my family or not. After I got past that initial shock and after I started looking at things, I started to realize, doggone it, getting started is hard. Getting started is difficult. And not only is it hard, but there's a million things that play into your ability to move forward and do the things that you want to do. Building that momentum creates friction. It creates resistance. It creates doubt. It creates fear. It creates all these things that we have to battle with. And in fact, in my experience, and it might be yours as well, my why was actually the reason why I felt so paralyzed so much of the time in getting started. Because in the back of my mind, I kept thinking, well, my family is the most important thing to me. If I do this thing and it doesn't work, then who am I putting in danger? The very family that I say I'm doing this for, or that I am doing this for. So my fear of disappointing or hurting my family being my why, right? Was also the reason why I just kept starting and stopping, and why it became so hard for me to get moving. See, this is where I ended up understanding that transformational self leadership is actually the key to getting anything done. And we will talk more about that in a second. But for now, I just want to welcome you to this second 10 10 10, which is 10 minutes at 10 o'clock for a 10 10 life or a 10 level life, however you want to put it. And today we want to address this issue of getting started, why it is so hard, and what we can start doing about it. See, I don't think that we don't get started because we don't have a really strong why. I believe that most of us have the why first, and then the dreams and the desires start to happen, right? Like for most of us is either we struggled a lot in some area and we just get to the point of never again, and so our why is to get out of that space, or we start connecting with and building relationships that mean so much to us that whatever we do, we want to do it in a way that supports and encourages and uplifts those relationships, right? Like in my case, my family. Or we simply see a bigger cause out there that propels us to start thinking about new ways of doing things. So I believe most of us start with the why, whether consciously or unconsciously. And yes, it's a good exercise to take some time and redefine or restructure your why so that it is clearly delineated and so that you can return to it anytime you need to. Because what I do think your why does famously is help you get past obstacles, right? Like when I had that breakdown, that meltdown because of that mentor's comment, I was able to snap out of it and get going because I finally got to the point where I said, no, look, you can't let one person's insensitive comment keep you from doing this thing that you know you're meant to do for your family's well being and for your own. Make sense? So your why is going to propel you forward. But here's what's going to get you started. And I have three suggestions that are going to help move you forward. And these are all elements of transformational self leadership. Now, transformational self leadership starts a lot with awareness and with bringing to consciousness things that we might not have clearly delineated or that we might ignore or not really be aware of at the time. And so I have a tool. And if you go to the description here on this video, there's a link to it. It's a free tool. It's called the crops inventory that is going to help you take into account and have like visibly in front of you everything that is already available to you so that you know that you're not missing anything in order to get started. And we'll talk a little bit more about this in a minute. But this tool can actually help you lay out in a visible, tangible manner all of the resources, all of the abilities, everything that you already have at your disposal, so that you can start silencing that self doubt, self imposed limitations, the imposter syndrome, all those limitations that are keeping you stuck and that are holding you back. You're going to start seeing how they really are not the truth and the reality of where you're operating from, and they will help you start figuring out, the tool will help you start figuring out next steps to take. All right, but let's get right to it, because again, this is 10 minutes. That's it. So the first thing is decide what you really want. See, especially those of us who are teachers, mothers, mentors, coaches, who have a heart for others and who live to uplift and support others, we have a tendency to put everybody else's needs ahead of our own. And so we are perfectly content and we get accustomed to thinking about what is going to be best for everybody else. What does everybody else want me to do for them? What is going to make them happy? What is going to make them feel at peace, or whatever the case may be? And so we start adopting and taking on desires and dreams that are not really ours. So I want to build a business because I want to retire my husband, or I want to build this particular type of cause or nonprofit because I want to support X, Y, or Z, or other people, right? And so we start thinking about others, which is not a bad thing to do. The problem is that if you're building something that is based on somebody else's dream for you and not your dream for yourself, then you're going to find it even harder to start moving, because it's an external motivation or an external drive and operating system that is trying to pull you forward instead of propelling you forward, right? Push you forward. And so it needs to come from within in order for it to move you in the way it needs to move you. So sit down and for a second write down what you really want. And if you start writing things down immediately, like take at least 5 minutes, and the first 2 or 3 minutes are going to be the things that you think other people want you to do. So examine and question them. Is this really what I want, or is this what somebody else wants for me? All right. The second thing is write your ideal outcome every day until it comes through. It comes true, right? So we have pathways in our brain, neural pathways, and we're not going to get into the science because we don't have time, plus it's boring. But we have neural pathways in our brain that kind of guide and direct our thoughts and our actions. And the best and fastest way to start seeing a shift in what you do is to start shifting those pathways so that there is a new path for your actions and your thoughts to follow. Make sense? And the way we do this is through language. So, one of the things that is going to help you write this ideal outcome is to go through the crops inventory exercise. Again, the link is in the description. Go get it. And in that exercise, you're going to start pulling out and drawing out all the things that are already available to you so that it is easier for you to envision an ideal future that doesn't feel like a lie in your mind and in your head. And you're going to rewrite it every single day so that it cements and it creates new pathways. And then finally, you're going to answer this question after you have your ideal outcome laid out based on that dream that you're working towards. You're going to answer this question. And the question is, what can I do right now, that is going to, that will move me closer to what I want, or to my ideal outcome, to that goal that I laid out, right? So again, what can I do now that will move me closer to that goal, or to what I want to do, that dream that I want to achieve? And you're going to ask that question, come up with one thing that you can do at that moment, do it, and then ask yourself the question again. Okay, so I already did this. What can I do right now that is going to move me closer? right? And you can ask this question once a day, or you can ask it 20 times a day because you complete 20 things and then you move on to the next one. But this is key. You have to take action every single day. All right. So go, let this be your action today. Go download the crops inventory and complete it. And then come back and let me know how this is working and what else I can support you with on these 10 10 10s. So go out there and live a 10 life through transformational self leadership. We'll talk tomorrow.